Welcome to the BioRN member-to-member event. My name is Stefanie Füller from BioRN. I'm happy to meet and interview today Renan Sora from DGP Intelsius online today. Renan is joining us today directly from an office overseas, but usually he's situated at the German DGP Intelsius site in Darmstadt. So happy to have you here, Renan. Let's start with a short introduction of yourself, your career path, and your motivation working for DGP Intelsius.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Stephanie, and thanks everyone for joining. I think it's going to be a very nice, interesting talk. Just to introduce Intelsius a little more to the BioRN cluster and how we can support life science and the environment from our location in Darmstadt, as Stephanie mentioned. So a little bit of my background. I've been at Intelsius for about 3 years. I started as a business development manager. I've been recently promoted to head of sales in the DACH region. We do have offices all around the globe. So we have offices in USA, in York, where UK is, in Malaysia, in Ireland, South Korea, and also Australia. So we do have a very big global footprint. And I started 3 years ago to open our facility in Germany. We actually wanted, since our headquarters or our first company was based in the UK, after Brexit, we just thought about branching out more into the continental Europe area. So we decided to launch our office in Darmstadt, and I've been in charge of making sure that the office ran pretty well, and then all of our packaging was available for everyone in a short notice. So that's a little bit of my background, starting from the business development manager, and then now into going to the head of sales and making sure that the area is well covered and we have business and are able to support, as I said, life science everywhere.
Right, thank you. And we're really happy that you became a member straight ahead.
Yes.
And just being part of our great network. What we would like to know before we start with the questions, you probably have already learned about this story with the 2 jars, which one of the ones become your property. What do you prefer, the M&Ms or the gummy bears, Renan? Can we see it here? How would you like to sweeten up your life?
For sure, gummy bears. I'm not.
Okay.
I know it's quite unusual, but I'm not a big chocolate fan.
Okay.
So I don't really like. I like sweet stuff, but more to the children's side of taste. So I do like a lot of gummy bears and sour stuff. So yeah, definitely I would like to sweeten my life with gummy bears.
Right. So I will hand them over at the BioRN annual conference on the 9th of October, right? Great. So now let's spotlight, of course, the company you're working for, DGP Intelsius. When was it founded and by whom? What was the motivation of the founders and the vision at that time?
So the company DGP Intelsius was founded in 1998 by our current CEO, David Walsh. He's an Irishman, but he moved to the UK. And he founded Intelsius at that time because at that time there was a big outbreak of the mad cow disease, as we know. And then the opportunity there was, I would say, it feels wrong to say opportunity there, but the opportunity for businesses at that time was just for healthcare. It was in regards to sampling of potential infectious samples for mad cow disease, the same thing that we did for COVID right now, or a couple of years ago. So that's when our founder started making compliant packaging for those samples to make sure that they were secure, that they weren't contaminated, they wouldn't contaminate other people or other citizens that are just passing by when shipping, or other people that work in the supply chain industry. So he created the packaging, which is now our PathoShield, and it's become the first certified compliant packaging for the mad cow disease sample at that time.
So build up a real expertise in a situation where things became quite severe. And of course, today you just grown up and started with a site in Germany.
Correct. It's interesting because we again, I can just draw parallels to the COVID pandemic, because we also saw there a lot of companies were formed. We could see that there were free testing everywhere, that you could get COVID tests, and there are a lot of small companies starting up to do the tests. And that's a little bit of how we started. But then I don't know if you're going to ask the question, but I'm going to jump into it already. And then we started expanding our presence and just expanding how we would support the life science industry, in not only in the compliant packaging for samples, as I say, infectious substances, but also expanding our portfolio into temperature control packaging. And that's how we started gaining momentum, and then really developing our expertise in how to supply the healthcare market, not only in tests and clinical trials as we were doing before, but also in the pharmaceutical industry and biotechs and so on.
Right. So there has been a lot of major efforts since then. Would you like to just focus a little bit on the development of the company since the foundation again? Yeah.
Yeah. So after we started opening that new category of temperature control packaging, which is, so the company was in 1998, so it's over 25 years ago. But I would say about 15 years ago, we started talking more about temperature control packaging and also the compliance needed around that supply chains. And then we started focusing more in that area of temperature control packaging. And of course, with that, there's been a lot of development, and we started to do more about changing the development of the packaging in the sense of more temperature control packaging, and making sure that the rental program, sustainability, and all of those things are well taken care of.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I ask my next question, just to the audience, if you do have any questions for Renan, please type them in the chat, and we will ask them later or almost at the end of the interview. So now, okay, Renan, anything about the company mission today? Because now we just started with the foundation, just heard a little bit about the major efforts. Is there any mission right now? So,
sorry, Stephanie, can you repeat that?
Everything, of course. I was just asking the company mission. Is there any sentence, anything you would like to really spotlight?
Yeah, so our mission is protecting life's most precious cargo. And as I said, we've been trying to eradicate disease and just support, as I said, all the life science people with making sure that we protect medicine, we protect vaccines, we protect the samples, we protect everything that's to make sure that life is intact, or that life is improved in any sort of way. So we just really make sure that our focus is in the product and the services that we do, and develop technologies for it, innovations for it, to adapt as well to people's supply chain. I think that's the main thing, that every company, every biotech, every lab, or every pharmaceutical company have their challenges in supply chain. So we want to make sure that we protect your product or our customers' product, and therefore also protect people's lives. So there's a lot of, and I think we're going to talk more about that as well, but we have a lot of exciting projects that we've helped before. We are also a recognized supplier for the NHS, for the National Health Security in the UK. But we have a lot of exciting projects and clinical trials, and how we've been able to go over the barriers and ensure that the payload or the product inside is kept at the right temperature at the right time, to also protect the advanced therapies and cell and gene therapies and any other therapies that might come along from those products.
Okay, so I believe that there are also some changes over the years affecting the packaging solutions, if we think about sustainability and the technology and temperature control packaging and services. So
yeah, so we started We started more about just with water-based systems. So we would have just we still have them as well. So we started as a simple version for temperature control packaging is we would have a styrofoam box with water-based packs. That's the most basic solution in the market to make them to ensure the cooling of the product. But now there's a lot of technology out there, and we also we jumped on the train and we started doing more technology, and now we have more premium versions of our temperature control packaging where people can count with 120 or 160 hours of performance in different temperature ranges. So we also started changing the water packs to more of a phase change material. So there are chemical compounds to make sure that the temperature inside the box is not lost as fast as the water does, because the water, as soon as it's not frozen anymore, the temperature will go up. So we started implementing phase change materials and more isolated vacuum insulated panels that would protect more the payload instead of just the styrofoam boxes. And with that, we also started talking about traceability, where to see your sample at all the times, to make sure that your vaccine is in the right temperature at 2 p.m. after 3 days in the road. So we started implementing connected solutions with logger traceability, where people can just see their payload at any time and see the temperature and receive alerts if there's any deviation in temperature, which is a great thing for supply chains at the moment. And also sustainability aspect, we started creating multi-use boxes. So we have partners that use the same box for 50 times or 60 times because they're very robust boxes. And we've also seen, I actually participated in the DHL sustainability event in Valencia last year or 2 years ago. And they were talking a lot about sustainability and what does sustainability mean. And they found out that multi-use boxes are much better than just green materials, so to say. So there's a lot of, we focus a lot of our sustainability efforts as well in multi-use rental programs that people can just rent the boxes from us in Darmstadt. They can use it for 15 days, let's say, and then the boxes returned to us. So a lot of customers are not buying products anymore, they're renting products, which also is a good thing for us because we just have to manage that the boxes are clean, that they're well kept. We can do some refurbishment if there's need to change some materials. But usually it's just something very simple that it doesn't require us to create more packaging and spend more resources, not only in the materials, but also in energy and people and the whole sustainability aspect of it.
Okay, thank you very much. So offering packaging solutions for very different areas, which DGP obviously does, means probably that you need people working in very different areas and having very different skills. So let's talk about the personnel at DGP Intelsius. Who's working there? What skills do they have? And where they are employed mainly, I know there are some in Germany. There's also a production side, right? And in the UK as well. So probably we just got to know these.
So in the UK, we still have the majority of our personnel.
Okay.
We have our technical, actually our director of technical services is in Germany. So he's also in charge of making sure that our office is in compliance to the regulations that our headquarters in the UK sets. But in the UK, we have most of our climate chambers. That's where we test all of our packaging. Our office there, we also call it a lab. It's not the same lab as most of the BioRN labs, but we call it a ISTA certified lab because that's where we manufacture the project. We have a technical team of 5 people, and they design the packaging. They test the packaging. These are all packaging design engineers, and they make sure that the package is compliant to be launched. So right now we're actually working on a fully green solution for dry ice, which is new in the market. No one has a dry ice box in the market that is fully sustainable, fully compostable, is made of compostable materials. So they're doing the whole process from designing the packaging, making changes when needed, going through certified testing, because as I said, we have the climate chambers. We can also simulate different temperature ranges in a software that we have. So that's mainly and that's also we're going to show in the video today. It's a little more of a technical services. And I would say, I don't want to put myself down, but technical services, I would say it's one of the most important, departments. I had the Abteilung in my head. So it's one of the biggest departments, or the most important, because as I said, the main thing for us is to ensure that the payload in the box is well kept, and is throughout the supply chain. And we know how supply chains have been quite challenging the past years. So the technical people will ensure that there's no problem with the packaging, but we also have a compliance and quality team. So as soon as technical is done with making the package ready to be launched, then the quality team will come in, because then we have a lot of SOPs, standard operating procedures in place, and the quality team will oversee the whole packaging, but will also oversee the process that we have at Intelsius. So when we have a customer complain about a packaging that's not working, or a packaging that wasn't preconditioned correctly, then our quality team will come in and will write preventive measures to make sure that this won't happen again, and to see where the problem is, because sometimes the problem could be in the user, how they, as I said, how they precondition the package, or in the delivery. When the package was delivered, there might have been a problem with the courier when it happened. So there's a lot of process that quality is in charge of. We are ISO certified company. We're also certified for medical devices. So we have a lot of certifications to back that up. And we also have a lot of other people just working in sales, in marketing, in finance, and just have that 5 times, because we are in 5 locations in the globe. So that's a little bit of our expertise.
Great. Thank you very much. So now let's sneak peek into the video you provided. Right,
Yes.
just a second. And I think it's from the UK side. Right. Okay.
As a design team, we have experience of a range of softwares in order to be able to produce custom graphic design. What's really great about this, it means we can produce custom branded artworks and apply them straight onto Intelsius products. This means our customers can have fully tested and fully certified solutions straight onto the market. We have extensive experience of both print and corrugate design. This means we can recommend the best processes and materials for customer needs. With experience of both product design and development, we can take customers throughout the entire design process. If a customer comes to us with a problem, we can establish their requirements, problem solve, and come out with the best solution for them. With connected logistics becoming ever more important, we can work with customers in order to incorporate the loggers and devices they want into their designs. Sustainability is at the core of our design process. We're working with suppliers in order to identify new materials and processes which can create low carbon and circular products. We offer ongoing support and quality management throughout the relationship we have with customers. We're available year-round for any questions they may have.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing these insights, Renan. So now let's dig a bit deeper into the services, the service side of DGP Intelsius. And what I've seen, or what you've also mentioned, was the Orca rental service. Would you like to explain a little bit more and get a bit more deeper in Orca rental, also your technical services, the virtual testing with Atmos services, I think that's the name, and the logger integration?
So you could see in the video, we're talking a lot about connected solutions. And then we started maybe 2 years ago, as soon as we launched our facility in Germany, we saw the need of customers or universities or labs that wouldn't have, let's say, a lot of demand for shipping samples or vaccines or APIs or whatever medicine that they're shipping. They wouldn't have a lot of demand. So let's say they would have 2 or 3 shipments a month. So they wouldn't, but at the same time, they also required a lot of performance on their payload. Whatever they were shipping was very expensive. As I said, for cell and gene and also advanced therapies. So they didn't have the budget, so to say, to buy one of our premium boxes. And they would rather use a pay-per-use model. So they would, as soon as they would have a shipment, let's say twice a month, they can come, we can ship them a fully ready-to-use box from our office in Darmstadt, and we'll deliver that in Frankfurt. So it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes drive, and it would be ready to use. That means that the customer can just put their medicine in the box and just ship it again with their courier or DHL, however they want it. But that would, first of all, cut the cost for the customer because they wouldn't have to pay for a box. Let's say a box costs 300 euros. They would pay 30 euros for that shipment for the box to rent it for 14 days. So they can have the box delivered to their site. It also cut the work that they have, so they don't need a lot of operation work around it because the box would be already ready to use for them. They will put their payload in, they would put their medicine, their APIs, and they could just ship it to their customer. And then you can always do a return label with DHL or UPS, or we can also pick the box up for them, and it would be back to our office. So that really cuts the time, effort, and money for our customers. So we started doing the Orca rental program because since it's a multi-use box, we were able to do that, and we're able to offer that to customers. And as soon as the box is back to us, we just inspect to make sure that there is nothing wrong with the box, nothing has been lost in the way. There is no parts missing because there's a lot of pool packs, and there's 6 pool packs in the box, and one of them can go missing. So we just inspect the box, we clean the box, we refurbish if there's anything. The good thing about it, again, sustainability and the multi-use of our packaging is that it's a very robust box. And as I said, some customers use it for 50 times. But the second good thing is that all parts are components. So if there's anything broken, usually what can be broken is just the outer corrugate, which is the plastic from the box. And we can just change that. We can just replace one component and the whole box is intact and fully new to be used again. So that's how we started the Orca rental program, and it's going really well. We have a lot of customers doing as well clinical trials for direct to patient. So they would have, we have small boxes, 2 liters, 4 liters, that they can just ship to the customer's home, and the customer can just put a label there and bring it to their lab and then bring it back to us. So that's the Orca rental side. That's we started doing more of the services, and we also, being in the Frankfurt area, we have a lot of logistics customer as well, and we have a new program that we, as I said, we deliver preconditioned, fully ready to use boxes, and those are very handy for some customers because they don't need to worry about how to precondition the package. They don't need to worry about temperature loggers. They don't need to worry to make sure that the box is really set to be used, because we have SOPs in place. We have a full conditioning center in Darmstadt. So we have 5, 6 fridges and freezers that they're all mapped with the temperature, with temperature loggers, to make sure that the cool packs inside, they are reaching the right temperature to put in the box. So that's a little bit of the services and the Orca rental that we're doing.
Okay, so and you also do this, as I said, this virtual testing Atmos services. Could you just explain what's behind that idea or that technique?
So the virtual testing that we do is it's mainly to adapt to a customer's, let's say, special request, because what the Atmos software and the virtual testing will allow us to do is adapt to your supply chain. So let's say a customer is trying to ship something dry ice. Our qualification for the boxes, so we qualify the boxes, as I said previously. We qualified using a certain amount of dry ice, and our performance is considered as the -20 temperature as our limit. So let's say we have a box and you have a payload that goes inside. Of course, dry ice we know is at -80, -78 degrees Celsius. And your payload has to stay at until -60. So with the qualification that we have, you can see where the dry ice quantity was enough to keep it until -60, but the qualification is until -20. So if a customer says, I had recently with a customer actually in Sweden, he wanted to keep the payload until -60, and he wanted to know how much dry ice he had to use to ensure the temperature there. So that's when the Atmos software comes along. So we don't have to redo the testing. We can just use the data that we already have for the qualification that we have. We can put into a system, and we can basically play with the customer's requirements. And we can say, okay, if you want -60, then you need 10 kilos dry ice. If you want until -40, then you need 8 kilos dry ice. And then we see the performance of the box as well. So it's a little more intuitive because it's something that we can do it more easily on the computer as a software. And we can adapt to the customer's requirement and adapt to their supply chain.
Okay, quite interesting. And also this part of the thermal and physical testing, I think that comes up when there are specific customer needs you want to, you will have to work with.
Yeah, it's the thermal, as I said, the thermal is the qualification that we do, is the physical testing. So now I'm going to differentiate a bit. So for the samples that we spoke before, so the mad cow disease sample, COVID samples, they use the packaging that is according to UN 3373 regulations. So there are regulations for transporting samples, so people are not infected by the samples that potentially samples that are being transported. So for us to achieve compliance in that, we need the packaging to have 3 layers. So we need, for example, something that is leak-proof, something that is pressure-proof when you're shipping by air, for example, and something that will is puncture-proof. When we do the physical testing that we mentioned before, we get the package, let's say the box or just like a kit, a sample kit, and we drop it from a height of 1.2 meters. So that's the physical testing that we do. We do that multiple times with different payloads inside, different syringes, different tubes, and so on. And then we just drop that and make sure that the content is intact. The package can be damaged, but the content is intact. There's no leak. There's nothing that went out. So that's the physical testing that we do. And then we get the certifications for it. And then we get the thermal testing. As I said, we have climate chambers. We have 3 climate chambers in the UK. And all of the thermal testing is done there. Usually we do it to certify our packaging, but we can also offer for customers that would need a specific testing to be done. We can do that in those chambers as well and do as an extra service.
Great. Thank you very much. It sounds really very interesting, and it's a holistic service package, I would say. It's really from development of packaging solutions to the bringing them to the chain, let's say, to the logistic chain. Yeah. So are there any success stories or case studies you would like to mention that help the attendees just to figure out with whom you're working with, and probably to learn from some challenges you had to solve?
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting cases. We get different cases every day because, as I said, we live in a globalized world, so there's a lot of shipments happening, a lot of different supply chains. We also have a lot of regulations in place. After COVID, that also there's been new regulations, there's been new studies. Clinical trials are booming at the moment, developing new medicine as well. So there are different challenges that we come across every day. But the one that I wanted to talk about, because since we're talking about sustainability, the Orca rental, and a little more of how our office in Darmstadt has been crucial for the project, was the project that we're doing with SGS. So SGS is working on it's called Coro Prevention. It's a EU project about coronary diseases. They're studying. It's a clinical trial, and it's a project for about 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. But what they're trying to do is analyze biomarkers in the human body that would prevent coronary diseases in the future. So they're having people to go through exercise, diets, and so on. And they're studying how the biomarkers will affect someone to have a coronary disease in the future or not. It's a huge project. There's a lot of countries involved. But this is just the scope of the project and how we're doing. They're shipping a lot of samples from Sweden, I think, from Sweden to Berlin. And they're doing that very often. So they're doing that all the time. I think maybe once a day, but every day they're doing that. And they're shipping those samples at -20. So our customer SGS, they did not want to use dry ice because since it's something they're doing every day, that they don't want to mess with dry ice. So we have a box that ensures temperature from -25 degrees Celsius to -15 degrees Celsius, just using cool packs or the PCMs that I mentioned before. And they're shipping that every day as a reused box. So they ship it from Sweden to Berlin. They will be analyzed, the biomarkers will be analyzed in the labs, and they're shipping the box back to Sweden, and they're doing that every day. Another thing that we help them with is just for an easy handling. We have just regular paper box carton that goes inside the box, but they fit perfectly. And they also have the temperature logger to make sure that when they ship from Sweden, that everything goes in the perfect temperature, and they can see that in our system live at all times. So there's not a problem with that. But yeah, they just put the payload in, they put in the box. Once it gets to Berlin, they take just the payload box. The box is not touched, and they ship it back. So that was a really nice. As again, it's a very specific user case because they're not shipping a lot. Most people ship worldwide. They ship for a longer period of days. This has they only need the temperature performance to be around 48 hours. So it's not very challenging when it comes to the time, but it's challenging on the procedure, on the operations, because you need the box to go and come back every day. And make sure that it's robust enough to handle that. And so that's one of the cases that I have with SGS. It's a project that we started probably about a year ago, and it's going really, really well. We're actually building a content piece with SGS on that as well. But I can send you the link later on the chat so you can learn more about the project, because I find it very, very interesting project.
Very interesting, really. And I do have another interesting challenge, I think, or a nice success story I found was the Wingcopter drone success story or case study. Would you like to just outline a little bit the challenge that you had to face there?
Yeah, that was a big challenge. So for those who are not familiar, Wingcopter is a drone company. They basically do the flying drones, but they do really big drones that will that they're also now testing in remote areas like in Africa. So they're not drones as, I don't know if people are familiar with DJI. I have a DJI drone. It's a very small, I call it Bumblebee drone. It can fly for maybe 30 minutes, right? And it has a reach of 500 meters or so. The Wingcopter drones, they have I don't know, they can fly maybe for hours, and they can fly 100 kilometers. So Wingcopter needed something that would, as I said, go to remote areas. Let's say they had a malaria project in Africa. I don't remember exactly where it was. I don't remember now, but they had a malaria project that they would test malaria in Africa, and they would have to reach remote areas whereas trucks or any other type of transport wouldn't reach. So they would need to get the malaria samples and bring it back to somewhere that they can do the testing. And of course, with malaria, you have to make sure that the sample is intact, so there's no potential of contamination. So we developed a certified box for them that would fit the aerodynamics of their drones. So we created a box for them. We had thousands of meetings with them, thousands of testings with Wingcopter, just to make sure that the box would fit their drones, because it also has to be a very light box. It couldn't be a very heavy box because otherwise the drone wouldn't fly. And there's not a lot of regulation on drones. There's a lot of regulations for drop in flights, as I mentioned before, pressure in flights and air freight. But for drones, there are no regulations. So we had to do a lot of research on that as well. And we also have to make sure that the sample is intact if it drops from the drone. If there's any problem with the drone. Yeah. So we created a box for them. They're very happy with it. And of course, again, we're supporting diseases. We're helping to eradicate disease, hopefully, by creating the packaging to make sure that testing is done compliantly and frequently, because I think that's important.
Right. Thank you very much. So almost at an end, Renan, but thank you so much, first of all, for just giving us all these information. And I think which came out quite well is that you're really very good equipped to meet the demanding challenges of the customers here. So I have one question in the chat. Are there global rules for packaging, or how is it ensured that all local requirements are fulfilled, especially when shipping sensitive goods, for example, infectious blood samples globally?
Yes, there are global rules, and they're called, I'll type it here in the chat, they are the UN 3373 regulations. So, and they're also the UN, I think it's, well, now I forgot, I think there's two, this one and this one. So these are the regulations, they're global rules, and they're valid for road transport and also for flight transport. So air freight or road freight. And those are the rules that will, therefore, potentially infectious substances. And there are different requirements for what you're shipping. There's a list of really infectious substances and not so infectious substances. But there's a list of how many layers of packaging you need. If you need something that is that has a number in it, because our packaging needs to have a number as well. There are different numbers that you need. There's different components that you need for those transports. So there are global rules that have to be followed when shipping sensitive goods.
Thank you very much. So
sorry, if I can just send a link here on the site, because we have,
of course,
on our website, we have a guide on, which is also can come in handy at any time. We have a how to achieve compliance guide. So I'll just send a link here in the chat, and I hope it's. But I can also, I said, you share my contacts, and people will be able to message me, because they also have. We can do the consulting as well on how to make sure that the package is done correctly, prepared correctly for the shipment.
Okay, great. There's another question, and I think we should just answer it because time is running, but still it's important. Okay. And it's from Shivohum. He's asking, can you elaborate more with an example on how you partner with institutes, labs to package their materials? Do you collaborate with scientific research labs specifically, or provide boxes to institutes that eventually are distributed to labs? First part of the question. Second, I will read later.
Let me just take a few. Yes. So one thing I want to point out is that we can prepare the boxes for labs. As I said, we can do the preconditioning services, labeling services, whatever the labs might need. But we don't do the second part of it. So as soon as the payload is inside, as soon as your sample is inside, we're out of it, because that would come in then in specialized couriers, white glove couriers, life science couriers, and we also don't want to step into that area. We just want to make sure that the package, we do collaborate with scientific labs, and we have a lot of institutes that we collaborate. For example, Fisher Scientific is a big partner of ours. You can find our packaging as well on the Fisher Scientific website. So we have a lot of smaller companies that only have Fisher Scientific or VWR, Avantor, as their supplier. So they would just go there and buy our packaging through them. That's also possible, but we're qualified there as well. So Fisher Scientific will will get a fully ready-to-use package from us, and they will distribute to their labs or their customers. So that's something that we can partner as well through distribution channels. And then if you want to ask the second, I hope I was able to answer that. And Stephanie, if you want to do the second question.
Yes, the second question is, in labs, at least in ours, majority of packaging comes with the fresh reagents that we order 5 to 6 boxes daily. Do you partner or plan to partner with vendors who supply reagents to labs? They do this usually with their own promotional packaging.
I don't know it. As I said, we have vendors for life science that are general life science, as Fisher Scientific and BWR Avantor, but I don't know if they will be able to supply reagents to labs. So that's not something that I'm knowledgeable with in that regards.
Okay, thank you very much. So all questions answered so far, I guess. And if not, just contact Renan personally or. Thank you very much, Renan. It was good to talk to you. Thank you to the attendees, to the audience, and see you hopefully on one of the next events.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, everyone. It was great. Thank you very much. And any questions, just you can contact me.